Hello there, this is the good Dr. Bleak, welcoming you back to Starsector. Now, it's been a couple days, we're going to pick up roughly where we left off. Alright, so when last we left off, I was looking for places to sell off that stash of luxury goods that we found, and I decided to use it as an excuse to go to this system, Mercy, which has a planet called Samael under control of Hazard Mining Incorporated. We're going to see what their deal is. Given Hazard Mining Incorporated seems to come with a lot of unique planets with unusual features, seems interesting enough. Well that's interesting. It looks like the Ludic Church managed to take the planet Galena from Hazard Mining Incorporated. That's honestly rather unexpected. Now, granted, I haven't messed all that much with Nexerelin before, but I've always viewed the Church of Galactic Redemption as kind of a bunch of pushovers. I mean, they do have ships that are dangerous, but a lot of their tech is exceptionally outdated, intentionally so. Because while they may not be as deranged as the Ludic space terrorists, they are still members of the same religion, just a less extreme sect. Wonder what they'll end up doing with the planet. Hopefully nothing stupid. Then again, Hazard Mining Incorporated may well take it back from them in the near future. Yep, and we're still hostile to the Ludic Church, so... Looks like the Ludics are taking on Hazard Mining Incorporated. Well, I see no reason not to help out. I have no doubt that Hazard Mining Incorporated could handle this regardless, but there's no reason not to sponge a little bit of free goodwill off of them. Let's get a good view of the battle. Man, Hazard Mining Incorporated does not go light. Then again, space stations generally are nothing to sneeze at. There is a reason that almost every major planet has one. The defenses brought by a space station more than equal almost every capital ship in existence, at least as the NPCs use them. There are definitely designs you can come up with that will outperform just about any space station with... Oh, what the heck? Okay. Gonna bump us up a little bit so we can get a better view. Did that Lasher just ram that Vulture? Yeah, it did. Okay, so interesting quirk with the physics engine. If a ship's engines get disabled, and it gets rammed by another ship, it will go flying off with whatever velocity the ramming ship was able to impart. This can lead to some very interesting effects, in particular if the ship doing the ramming happens to be a particularly big... Pardon me. Okay, so things to remember for the future. The Barber has a tendency to fly face first into danger and get itself blown to bits. Gonna have to keep that in mind. To be honest, I initially mistook it for a Lasher-class ship, but well, apparently I was incorrect. Now, it looks like this Vulture is the last one left at this point, trying to run away. Not gonna work. Now, my ships are closing in. It's still a decent chance that they might escape, but we'll have to see if we can pin them down before that. Not a lot of hull left on that particular ship, so if we can force the shields down or work around them, we can definitely take them out. It's just a matter of if we'll manage it before they get to the edge of the map and can run away from the fight. Given we're already hostile to the Ludic Church, I see no issue with this. Boom. That'll teach them to pick fights with people bigger than them. Hopefully. Looks like they have one fuel tanker that managed to get away. Let's go ahead and help out with that, but I'm just going to order my second in command to take care of it. That should be enough. Alright, so we took out that last fuel tanker that tried to escape, and it looks like our side was able to recover some combat readiness while we controlled the space battle. After the battle, 6 crew and no Marines were rescued from life pods and intact compartments in wrecks. The salvage chief reports that several ships are disabled or destroyed, but can still be restored to basic functionality. Let's have a look. Looks like we lost the mining frigate in there. And the barber. Huh. Are they worth getting back? Not particularly. I wasn't too attached to those ships anyway. I was hoping we might get one of those eradicators, because even with the Church of Galactic Redemption setup and the modifications that we might need to deal with, I find the Eradicator to be a useful ship. Let's see, disabled ships from your fleet are available for recovery. If you proceed without recovering them, they will be lost permanently. Yeah, I know. I don't mind all that much. Relationship with the Luddic Church soured just a little bit, and Hazard Mining Incorporated, we're already well established and weren't affected by that. I guess it would need to be a bigger battle for them to care all that much. Still, got a share of the wreckage, and a couple new items for the simulator to test our ships against. And we did improve our relationship with Tritachyon, which is good. Let's see. Go ahead and repair our ships, take care of any damage that was done. And yep, there's still a deficit here. Go ahead and sell all those luxury goods and make 90,000 credits. Good. Good, 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 good. Let's see. Red water, distilled from the organic mass on Samael. This intensely hallucinogenic liquid purportedly enables one to speak with the dead. Considering the tragic times, this commodity is always in demand by the desperate and the guilty. Now, that's a lot of money for certain places, but if I remember reading correctly, a lot of places have already banned red water. So I don't think I'm going to get into purchasing that. Still have all these weapons on hand. I'll sell off some of the smaller stuff that I don't need. Can't buy supplies here, at least not at a decent price, nor fuel. We do have a surplus of organics. Okay, I thought about it. I don't necessarily need to go buying a bunch of organics to sell somewhere else. Instead, we're going to go over to the character screen, because apparently that was enough to push us over the edge into yet another level up. Okay, I've ended up going with makeshift equipment. From the look of it, it'll reduce our monthly supply consumption for our ships based on whichever is lower, either 50% or 100 units. For what it is, it's a benefit. Also reduces the amount of resources required to survey planets, which is a really good thing to have on hand since we're doing surveys quite a bit for extra cash. It also gets us closer to that hull restoration, which I'm definitely aiming to get. Now, I did want to bring something up. Hull restoration exists in opposite to this skill, derelict operation. They think we're trash, the execs and admirals in their shiny starships. They threw us away the second it went bad. But it's us the sector got built on, and it's us that'll cut them down. Anonymous pirate agitator, based from a Hegemony Intel surveillance feed. What derelict operations does is reduces deployment cost by 6% per D-mod on the ship. Now, that reaches maximum effect with 5 D-mods, but if you have the right permanent damage to a ship, you can end up reducing the cost to deploy into combat massively. We're talking being able to field twice or more as many ships, depending on how things go. And honestly, I can understand the appeal. But I personally like my ships to work as they're supposed to. I've had entirely too many instances where an otherwise good ship will fail me because of a D-mod. Engines will flame out and it won't be able to move at the worst possible moment. Unable to turn its own guns. Not able to turn its guns fast enough. Shields getting overloaded far too easily. It just isn't worth it. At least in my opinion. I know people who swear by it, but I don't. Now then, moving on. So while we're here, we're going to take a look at this planet. Samael. A haunted world. Well, boy, isn't that an ominous name. With an ocean rich in readily processed organic material, Samael is a key source of organics from the outer rim. Few people linger here for work, although if that is due to the hard conditions, regular Ludic Path raids, or something else entirely is unclear due to censorship by port authorities. Widely known as the source of the mysterious hallucinogen red water. Well, that tells us quite a lot about that planet, but also not very much in general. A place that can produce something like red water entirely on its own is definitely a place that's worthy of interest, but also, the fact that someone named it a haunted world gives me a reason to not stick around. Wasn't much going on at the bar either, just a person wanting us to do some smuggling again, and I don't really feel like that right now. So instead what I've got planned is we're going to go to the Magnex system. That's the cheapest place that I can buy supplies at the moment. And it also happens to be where there is a Tritachyon planet where I'm hoping I might be able to pick up a contract or something. I'm trying to drive up our relationship with Tritachyon because they have, without exception, my favorite capital class ship. And I want to be able to buy them at a decent price eventually. Having good relations with Tritachyon will make that happen. Well, unless we happen to find one just floating abandoned out in the fringes, which is not out of the question. But, planning for the future. While we're at it, just wanted to look at some of the other planets in this system, particularly the inhabited ones. Sol, a jungle world. A positive Eden, Sol is the seat of the local sect calling itself the Church of Eva Exultant. This lead-aligned religion has permeated every single aspect of society, with a keen focus on cleansing mercy of infernal outsider influence. Moderate elements of the Church of Eva have aligned the polity to the Church of Galactic Redemption. However, an underlying fanatical base simmers beneath the surface. So it's listed as Ludic Church, but it's not really Ludic Church. It's more an offshoot that happens to agree with them enough that if we're going by major powers, they qualify. And Corpse Station. A station of unknown manufacturer, this unnamed station was a volatile skimming facility. However, it has since become the gathering point for the more fanatical elements of the Church of Eva Exultant. Despite the station being cleaned out by the company multiple times, I'm assuming that's Hazard Mining Incorporated, the fanatics always return to continue their sacred path. Again, it's listed as Ludic Path, but it reads more like they happen to get along with each other. That is very interesting. I love flavor text like this that gives me a bit more to think about in terms of the world. Now then, moving on to our next destination. Alright, arrived in Nova Maximus and the Magnex system. Nova Maximus is an independent station, and currently among the best places to buy supplies. Gonna go ahead and load up while we can. Get some fuel in as well. Prices aren't as good for that here, but they're good enough. Sell that off, sell that off. Nothing worth doing at the bar there, so we're going to go ahead to Tibicena. That one's a Tritachyon planet with a space station in orbit. We're going to go ahead and see what we can get up to here. Okay. She's got 16,700 units of luxury goods that urgently need to be delivered to Eventide in the Samara star system. Recent pirate activity has been making getting there difficult, but you look like someone who could get the job done. Eventide is under hegemony control, and I can only carry about 927 units of stuff. I'm going to decline that for a second, but I'm going to have a look at my fleet. Okay, so Magnex was a bust. I bought supplies, but didn't find anything worth doing there. So, gone back to the source, specifically our contact on Kulon. Let's see what's available on the bounty docket. Reasonable within my abilities. That one's a lot tougher. Okay. We'll definitely be taking the second one if we're taking any of them, but I want to check something first. While we're at it, are there any exploration contracts out that way? Let's see, there's a weapons cache, survey data for a Terran world. Servitors, mining. Dang. All the scan stuff is in the other direction. Huh. Well, we're definitely going to be taking that contract, but it means we can't double up. But while we're here, we're going to check the ship market and see what's available for sale. Ooh. Okay, Atlas Super Freighter. Got to have that. Can I afford it now? Let's see, it'd be 10 supplies a month to maintain. Yeah, you know what? We can do that. Let's go ahead. I'm going to do something probably really foolish. And Tritachyon Military. That right there, that is the goal. The Paragon battleship. Good God, to have that now. The Paragon is an engine of destruction. 4 large energy hardpoints, 2 medium universal, 4 medium energy, 9 small energy, and 4 small missile slots. And it has the Fortress Shield. So, armed to the teeth, the Paragon can turn on a special shield that reduces damage taken by shields to the absolute minimum, but generates hard flux as long as it's on. What this means is you can basically no-sell any incoming attack, reducing it to almost nothing. And then, when the enemy has shot their shot, you can go ahead and drop the Fortress Shield and respond with 4 Tachyon lances directly to the face, usually coring the ship and ripping it to pieces. Gosh, I love that ship. Oh. Regardless, we can't afford it now, and Tritachyon's not willing to sell it to us anyway. We'll fix that. That's part of why we're doing this. But we're also going to pick this up. The Fury Light Cruiser is a good ship. The price on this one isn't too awful, and we can afford to arm it at least. Alright, got that armed up. Ooh, Ion Pulsar, one of my favorites. The Ion Pulsar doesn't do a whole terrible lot of damage to armor, but it does excellent damage to shields. Real good EMP work too. Okay, so I've got my new ship kitted out, got my officers assigned, and we're ready to go. We're gonna go kill some people. Now, while we're out flying around trying to get to that bounty, I did want to talk about something. AIs. Now, AI in the Starsector world is not like what we're calling AI in the real world. Rather, it's old-school sci-fi AI, meaning it can actually think for itself, form opinions, and make decisions entirely on its own, instead of being an algorithm called AI by tech bros looking to make money off of people who don't know better. AI in Starsector is measured on a 5-point scale, at least for officially recognized AI. Eventually we'll get to the non-officially recognized ones. The first class of AI, the lowest, is Sub-Delta. Sub-Delta AIs are any AI that does not rise high enough to meet the Delta qualification. Sub-Delta AIs are generally dumb. Very dumb. Think the VIs from Mass Effect if you want a comparison. Now, you might wonder why you would want an AI instead of just a regular computer program if they're that dumb. The answer is, in their field, whatever that field is, sub-delta level AIs are extremely good at what they do. For example, if you had a space station and you had a sub-delta level AI managing the door system, that AI can check credentials, can check who has access to where, ensure no one goes where they're not supposed to be going, but is also aware and flexible enough to recognize, hey, there's an emergency and half the station is venting its atmosphere. This is a circumstance where I should open these doors to allow people into an area they're not normally allowed in to avoid them dying. They're just flexible enough to be significantly superior to a completely mindless computer program. So that's sub-delta, and that covers everything below delta. What does delta mean? Delta level AIs are human equivalent. While some skills may be higher or lower than the average person, a delta level AI is comparable to a human, in enough respects to be considered equal. Delta-level AIs are actually legal despite the ban on most AI-related matters in the sector. The hegemony enforces a ban on all AI cores above Delta level. To give a comparison, a Delta-level AI can hold a conversation like a person if it's designed for social interaction, can crunch numbers like a person if it's an accounting program, can generally equal but not surpass a human. This eliminates a lot of the things that make AI suspect in the Starsector universe. They don't have the capability to massively outplan humans simply because they're on par with a human. The only thing they can reasonably be expected to do is plan the sort of stuff a human would plan. You know, wait till someone they don't like goes into an airlock, open the airlock, pretend it was an accident. That level of mischief. Which is concerning, but still human level. The next step up is Gamma-class AIs. Gamma-class AIs are the savants of the AI world in Starsector. Very, very capable, especially when it comes to calculation, but very lacking in social skills. A Gamma-class AI can outperform a human when it comes to calculation, math, and administration in terms of raw numbers, but the average spacer, given enough time to ask questions, will be able to figure out they're talking to a Gamma core rather than a person. Beta-level AIs are the next step up from Gamma cores, and they are significantly better. Beta cores can convince someone that they are another human, as long as the person cannot see them. A specialist in AI can work out if they're talking to a person or a beta core, but that takes time and expertise. Beta cores are reported to simulate a new personality for every person they interact with based on their individual needs. So they don't maintain a consistent personality, they more suit themselves to whoever they're talking to at the given time. Beta-class AIs are also just as capable, if not more so, when it comes to calculation than a Gamma-class AI. A beta-class AI can sufficiently run an entire industry planet-wide to make noticeable improvements over a human. Finally, there's the alpha-class AI, the most powerful, officially acknowledged form of AI. An alpha-class AI is significantly above even the brightest human, orders of magnitude. Alpha-class AIs are capable of independent thought, action, and behavior that far outstrip any human. They are known to have a sense of humor, such that they are known to set up years-long pranks on specific individuals that only that person will get and only after seeing the entire thing in hindsight. This makes them incredibly dangerous. An alpha-class AI core that's been given reason to plot against you can plot your downfall without you ever realizing that you're in danger. And this makes them a subject of intense paranoia. Tritachyon has been known to use and abuse alpha-class AIs in all sorts of industry and management positions. The hegemony rightly fears rogue alpha-class AIs because they are capable of formulating strategies that no human can hope to equal. And the Ludic Church considers AIs of this class to be quite literally electronic Satan, so they don't like them. Okay, arriving at the place where we're looking for that bounty, looks like we have someone else in system. Pretty big fleet. Not a lot of large combat ships, though. I would hazard a guess probably a salvager, but we're still gonna keep our distance and avoid a potential confrontation. Let's see. Got an orbital habitat here. We'll see what we've got. Salvage crews begin their work. A transmitter inside the orbital habitat sends out an encrypted broadwave signal. Whatever destination it's meant for, it has to be nearby. With any luck, that signal is for a set of ships that are long, long gone. Begin salvage operation. Okay, we've got supplies, fuel, heavy machinery, consumer goods, metals, food, and blueprints. Hegemony auxiliary ship blueprints, okay. Buffalo-class freighter, Wolf frigate, Hound-class combat freighter, and kite shuttles. Not bad. Those are hegemony-specific designs, so there'll be variations on the normal designs. It looks like taking that station pissed off this salvage fleet. they're coming looking for me now. We'll get out of here, go scan another couple planets. There's a chance I could take them? I don't want to find out. Ultra rich. Rich and abundant. Ooh, another orbital habitat. We'll have to hit that in a moment. My enemy is the enemy of my other enemy. Let's get this bread. I'm going to be following the Fury-class ship. Next to the Wolf, it's one of the fastest we have, so it should be one of the first to engage. And I expect it'll hit a lot harder than the Wolf once they get close. Come on, get in there. Use those plasma thrusters. Nick, getting within range. Look at that. That's one ship down, and this is the one we're hunting. Excellent. Another bounty in the bag. And looks like those other two Pather ships are going to get away. You can't get them all. And hopefully the salvagers will look kindly on us after we help them out with this particular battle. Okay, looks like some stuff is going down. While everyone's occupied fighting each other, I'm going to go ahead and see about this habitat. Oh great, more sleeper pods. Oh! Excellent! One by one, the pods begin to open as the thawing process completes. Most of the occupants came through alive, if somewhat dazed. Well, for a second time, a major source of pods actually worked. Nice. Okay, food and a gamma core. Run a salvage operation on the debris field. Mining station. And we've got scattered ruins. Alright, cargo manifest found by the crew shows that there's a high presence of volatiles on the surface, already processed, so we should be able to get those. Excellent. Okay, and the mining station, we'll leave that one be. Like I mentioned before, I tend to avoid mining stations this early in the game because I just don't have the space to carry the stuff that they're going to have. And orbital habitats and research stations tend to be much, much better in terms of the loot that you're going to get, the blueprints, all that. Going to move on, do some scanning on the way back. And a star system called Dreadnought. And we've got prospectors approaching our fleet. Huh, what do they want? Thank the stars you showed up. Our tanker had an accident and we don't have enough fuel left to get back to the core worlds. We need 150 fuel and will gladly pay you 22,500 credits for it. A handsome markup, I might add. Okay, I have 1,469 units of fuel. I can easily spare that, but you know what? No need for payment. I'm not one to gouge someone when they're down. Excellent. Relationship with the Independents went up, and he's going to make sure everyone knows I can be counted on in a pinch. So I guess there was a distress call on this system that I did not take notice of. You will occasionally get distress signals from different systems as you're passing by. Sometimes that's poor people who got stranded because there was an accident and they lost their fuel tanker. Other times, it could be an ambush by the pirates preying on anyone who actually has a shred of decency. Okay, so, just wanted to cut in here and make you all aware of something. You might notice I'm up at the northernmost corner of recognized space. Well, I got caught in this slipstream here, all the way over at the far end, and decided to just ride it out and see where it spat me out. The answer was over here. I still have more than enough fuel to get back to civilization, so I figure we'll do some scanning around here, see what we get. Okay, so you see that blue triangle there on the scope? That's a remnant fleet. Looks like it's just the one ship. Nothing to be terribly worried about, but it looks like this part of the sector has a remnant presence. We're going to want to keep an eye on that. Like I mentioned before, the remnant AI fleets from the first or second AI war, still not sure which, can be anywhere from incredible pushovers to unimaginably dangerous depending on details. Okay, so I was going to stop at the Barak system because that happens to be a blue giant star. Blue giants were a subject of study back during the Domain era, which means there are a lot of research stations that happen to be posted in such systems. But there's a warning beacon on this system. Medium, but still a warning beacon. And a disposable probe sent through the jump point here sends back a microburst of information that tells us that there is a fleet, likely hostile and large, on the other side. So, we're going to go ahead and skip that one. Move on to this one, Polices, and hope that it's better. Dang, another one. And exactly the same, except this time the warning beacon shows high danger level. I guess this area must have been a hotspot during the AI wars. Probably a lot of fighting. Hopefully we get something to scan. If not, I'm going to be coming back from this particular trip a little bit slim on credits. Okay, finally. On the Sakona star system, no warning beacon, no indications of activity inside. Let's have a look-see. Big, bright, orange giant sun, so there's that. Oh, ultra-rich ore deposits. Not great on its own, but something to keep in mind. Another one with ultra-rich ore deposits. Dang, another one. For a system with all barren planets, this place happens to have a lot of mineral wealth. Who'd have thought? Probably anyone who understands how the planet generation of this game works. Okay, jumped into the system. Low-level danger beacon, so gonna keep myself on my toes, just keep my ears and eyes open for anything that might be lurking in here. Lots of planets, though. Ah, and it's a trinary star system, but instead of 3 stars in a close orbit, it's a blue supergiant with a red dwarf orbiting it close range and a yellow star orbiting at distance. Well, that's interesting. Ultra-rich rare and regular ore deposits. Well, that's a good sign. Another orbital habitat to explore. Cold and dead for tens of cycles at the very least, possibly hundreds. Preliminary results, potential for a salvage operation with pretty high returns. Let's have a look. Okay, good fuel. And some blueprints. Ooh. Oh, that's good. That's real good. That is a package of high-tech blueprints. It's got ships, but more importantly, it's also got weapons. That means in future we'll be able to make our own auto-pulse lasers, high-intensity lasers, graviton beams, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Not to mention a couple of decent ships in there. Salvage operation on the debris field gives us the Brighton Scavenged Pack. It enables heavy industry to reconstruct domain and remnant hulls into what can charitably be called semi-functional vessels used by the Brighton Federation. Well, that'll be interesting. Oh, and this is interesting. We have a domain-era sensor array, this super high-resolution passive monitoring array with a transmitter capable of real-time, faster-than-light data transmission within the star system. The data is used to supplement the regular sensor readings made by fleets. So if we were to colonize the system and bring this back online, it would give all of our fleets within our faction 700+ sensor range. That is something to keep in mind. See, colonization is on my mind as I play this game, because we are eventually going to want to put down roots somewhere. To have our own planets with our own shipyards and our own markets selling goods at our price. That being slightly better than everyone else's, so we can make a lot of money. Moderate ore deposits for both types. Nothing special. Another remnant fleet hanging out near the star. Again, just one ship. I wonder if its AI brain has just been fried and its path for where it's supposed to be patrolling has been sent way out of whack. Ultra-rich regular ore deposits and moderate rare ore deposits. For a barren bombarded world, not bad, though it is extremely hot and no atmosphere. Volcanic world with abundant regular ore and rich rare ore deposits. Gas giant with abundant volatiles. And a mining station just free-floating through the system. Huh. I guess it must have been mining the nebula it's next to. Weird to see one without a planet, though. Or at least a ring to mine in. Ah well. A radiated planet with moderate ore deposits. Plentiful volatiles. Now that's something to keep an eye on. Diffuse volatiles, abundant regular ore, moderate rare ore. And another irradiated world. Ultra-rich ore deposits, rich rare ore deposits. So, my takeaway on Archibald's Star is that this place would be a good B-grade system. I mean, there's a lot of industrial potential here, but it's lacking a habitable world. And I would desperately like to have a habitable world as our starting point. I'm going to go ahead and create an intel map marker just reminding me that this place is a potential industrial system. I'm going to give it a B ranking. That done, we're going to skip over this system, which is a neutron star, and go straight to Zagan. I believe we're in good with the Persean League at the moment. We do have business on Ilm. Okay, we've arrived, but it looks like there's a potentially hostile fleet near the jump point. This is a civilized system, and I believe we're in good with the Persean League at the moment, so we're just going to dive in, have a look. Oh no, it was a friendly one. Oh, nope. Pirate invasion fleet. Pirate invasion fleet that looks to have been worked over by someone already. Well, I see no problem moving in and cleaning things up, maybe getting some good tidings from the locals as a result. I'm gonna put in this standard drone tender and just see what we get for that. Alright, look at those piranha bombers go. I love the way they work. Alright, looks like we might need to take a bit more of a direct hand on this one. I'm going to have everyone target to eliminate this Wolf-class frigate. That'll open up the side on the Eradicator. Okay. That's got them forced back enough. We'll have everyone but the Wolf focus on the Eradicator. Ah, dang. I always forget how dangerous the Shrike and its variants can actually be, simply because I see them get annihilated so rapidly most of the time. The trick with the Shrike is it does not have much in the way of hull and armor, but when it's working, it does tend to be able to do a lot of damage real quick. Like that. In fact, you know what? We're gonna change our focus here. And bring in some extra hands while we're at it. Why not? Looks like they took out the Shrike, and the Apogee is engaging with the Eradicator. Come on, get those shots in. Come on. Get him where you've already beaten the armor in. And there we are. Okay, with the Shrike and the Eradicator down, we can focus on this one last ship. And then we'll have the entire remains of the invasion fleet taken care of. Whew. Well, we got him, but not without some losses. We lost our wolf, the one that I can't pronounce that's named after a camel, and they even got the Omen. So that's less than ideal. But we did take them down too, quite a few pegs. Now, it looks like they've got Phantom-class transports, and a Buffalo and a Dram light tanker that retreated from the battle. I'm going to go ahead and pursue them. Personally, I would like a little bit of payback for everything that we just lost. I mean, there's a good chance we'll be able to recover some of it, but it would be nice to get a chunk out of these guys before they run off. There goes the Buffalo. Looks like the Fury's caught up to one of the phase transports. Now, phase ships like that slip into P-space to hide from other ships and avoid being hit, but unfortunately, the longer they stay in P-space, the more their flux goes up, and they just won't be able to keep that up long term. And no engines to run away with now, so it's just a matter of time. There goes one Phantom. Looks like we got the other one too. Knocking their engines offline over and over so they can't run away. There we are. I think that tanker slipped past us, but, well, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Ship recovery. Get the wolf. This one didn't really do so hot anyway. Definitely going to get the Omen. And I could grab that Eradicator. You know, I'm going to go ahead and grab that Eradicator. We'll get 2 of our 3 ships back, and one that I honestly consider better than the Camel one. It is going to cost us a pair of story points, but we got 6 story points to spend, and being overly hesitant with them, it's never really helped me. I just end up with gobs and gobs of them sitting unused until eventually I get around to permanently modifying my ships. Alright. Got just shy of 2,000 on the CPUs from the ships that were destroyed, but we're still running. And what do we got for salvage? 4 crew, an ion pulsar, which isn't bad, a couple of lower grade weapons, a couple heavy autocannons. Okay, that's about what I expect. We'll stop at Ilm and go ahead and sell off some of the stuff that we don't need. A particularly rough battle did at least bring us another level up. Need 1 more before I can get hull restoration. What do we want? We're going for containment procedures. Industrial planning isn't bad, but containment procedures is better at the moment. Let's go. I don't remember what business we had at Ilm, so we're gonna wait and get that after we stop off and sell everything we can sell, pick up everything we can pick up, and get our ships back in order. I'll admit, I may have gotten overconfident with that pirate invasion fleet and paid the price for it. I'm so used to having a fleet that's more capable. Your fleet approaches Mazalot. Although a locus of population in the Zagan system, and indeed demographically significant in the sector as a whole, Mazalot is a weak link among the worlds of the Persean League, often the site of coups and proxy wars. Occasionally a benevolent regime comes to power, but it is just as soon thrown down by some outside force, in the long game between the League and the other major powers. Okay, so as it shakes out, the only thing we're ultimately buying at Mazalot is fuel. Fuel and Marines. Okay, so back at Ilum, I did stop at a couple of the other planets in the system, and I picked up as many Marines as I could because I recalled what our business here was. This is the tutorial for ground combat. Officer Ross Diamond wants to speak with us. Ah, I see. So the invasion fleet was a scripted one that was part of this tutorial. We were supposed to fight them later on regarding their ground invasion. The comms display shows a static, distorted image of a blonde officer, surprisingly boyish looking for one with the insignia of a League fleet captain. You're the person who helped us repel that invasion. Why? Well, I was sent here. Ah, yes, that request by fleet. I don't understand what they hoped to get this way, but it seems to be working out so far. You've already helped us out. I'd appreciate it if you stuck around with us a little longer. Okay, let's have a look. The short version is we've got an unknown hostile party invading the planet, and I don't have the resources to deal with it. All we've got standing in their way right now is the Ilum Planetary Militia. Under the Zagan Accord of 154, one of the products of the bloody business on Mazalot, the League is supposed to guarantee Ilum's safety, with the fleet based on Yasad. That's been no problem right up until now. Only now someone has launched a direct assault on the planet, and I can't get through to the fleet presence here, or outside the system for that matter. He seems to repress a snarl. What are those idiots doing? Are they stonewalling me on purpose? Anyway, it looks like you're the only person I can count on. All you need to do is help defeat the ground forces on the planet and save Ilum. Easy enough, right? How many Marines did you bring anyway? 219. That'll have to do, though it also depends a lot on the quality and equipment of the troops. Your fleet will also add a lot of punch. A little support in the right place can work wonders. Alright, the battle's already ongoing, and I've got to liaise with Colonel Shaddad on our defense strategy. I'll tie you into our commnet and let you deploy your own forces at your discretion. Taking out the enemy fleet has bought us some valuable breathing room, but the fight's far from over. Good hunting, Captain. I already know how this works, so I'm not gonna have it give me the full tutorial. The short version is ground battles are divided up on this map. Up here, we have Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie Company, and down here we have the planet. These little guys who look like normal crew are militia companies. These ones with the armor are marine companies, and these big ones are heavy companies, made from heavy equipment. Let's go ahead. Now I've got it set so that we have 4 companies, the max we can field right now. I'm going to go ahead and auto-move all units, auto-move can deploy units, and auto-move at the end of turn. What that's going to do is have our forces drop down onto the planet at the ground defenses, the spaceport, and the patrol HQ. What that's done is put our forces down here along with the militia companies. We outnumber the invading pirate forces by a fair amount, and once the starport is captured, our companies will be able to move over to the patrol HQ or the ground defenses, wherever they need more help. But ground battles also take real time. Every in-game day, the turns move and we see the results. I also have a couple of abilities to use. Fire support is the only one available right now. Basically, since we're in orbit, we can do a small-scale bombardment in direct support of ground forces. Does 60 damage, distributed between all enemy units on the targeted industry. Damage is increased by 25% if combat is ongoing on the target, and reduced by the target unit's defensive modifier. If target industry is held by enemy, it disrupts the industry for its base raid time, except for hardened military structures. Ground defenses can protect themselves efficiently against fire support bombardments. Bombardments also cannot take place if enemy fleets are within support range with at least half the combined strength of our entire fleet. It's got a 2-turn cooldown, uses 50 fuel. I'm going to go ahead and do that on the spaceport. That might seem odd given it looks like we're going to have more trouble over at the patrol HQ, but the patrol HQ is a military installation. It's hardened. So if I can go ahead and get the spaceport faster, that's going to free up my units to attack the other enemy encroachments. The other options were Inspire, which requires me to have a level 5 or higher. or electronic warfare. We would have to have a total ECM rating of at least 6% to use that. Currently, we have 5, so we can't do that. Now all we can do is wait, so I'm going to let that run. Looks like the pirates are back for more. Just one ship, and they're still trying to come at me. And who'd have thought one fuel tanker isn't exactly able to stand up to a war fleet? But the pirates will never learn. Alright, so a couple turns in. As of now, we've taken back the ground defenses, fighting at the spaceport, fighting at the patrol HQ. It looks like they're going to try and make a move on the mining district, but I don't really see that going so well. And excellent. Relationship independence improved by 10, and surface battle on Ilum ended with the defenders victorious. Also gave us enough experience to gain an additional skill point. But before we get into that, let's see what they have to say now. Excellent work, friend. The invasion has been thwarted, and Ilm is safe. We've picked up a bunch of prisoners, and Colonel Shaddad wants me to sit in on the interrogations. I imagine Fleet Sec would be very interested in just who sponsored an unflagged invasion of the planet. Who do you think it was? Diamond rubs his chin. There are a few obvious suspects, aren't there? The hegemony would just love to expand their influence in our back garden, and embarrass us at the same time. Then there's the church. They've never really forgotten the Mazalot uprising. On the other hand, this sort of skullduggery doesn't seem like their forte. And there's a bunch of unanswered questions, like what the fleet was doing all this time. I expect we'll be going over all the evidence with a fine comb. He shakes his head, then looks straight at you. When I'm done with tonight's business, how about you come down dirt side with me for supper? You certainly earned a couple of beers. Sure thing. You cut the comlink after exchanging a few pleasantries. A few hours later, a message from the captain arrives in your inbox. It contains the name and address of a local middle-class establishment. Clean, moderately fancy, with reasonable prices by the standards of its customers. Do you feel that he could have been not so miserly and treated the hero of Ilm to a suitably posh place? Or conversely, would you be more at home with the rowdiest watering hole the place has to offer? Honestly, I think middle class is probably the best we're going to do. Take a shuttle down to the restaurant. Diamond meets you at a table outside the restaurant. In contrast to his appearance on the comm not a day ago, the lead captain before you now is a worn, hollowed-out imitation of a man, as if he was the one who had been locked up with the interrogator. "Hello, James," he says wearily. "Please order anything you like. It's my treat, after all. What did you find out?" His smile doesn't reach his eyes. "We don't know each other well enough for that, hero of Ilm." He gazes off into the distance. "The captain was right," you catch a mutter. Somehow you don't think he's referring to you or himself. The rest of the dinner goes by in the compassionable silence of two acquaintances sharing a meal. The food is indeed good and goes well with small talk. After the plates have been taken away, Diamond nods to you. "Bye for now, James. Maybe we'll see each other again someday. It's a small sector after all." You take a shuttle back up to your ship. Well, let's see. If I was to hazard a guess on what actually happened, someone strung him specifically out to dry. The Persean League went after Ilm, trying to gain an upper hand and maybe bring the planet into the fold from the Independence, and Captain Diamond has just realized that he was the fall guy for the entire thing. Poor man. The reason he's so hollowed out is certainly that he's been disillusioned with everything he thought he believed in. Happens a lot in the sector. Oh well. Now let's see. Looks like we got our Marines back, our heavy armaments back, and our Marines are more experienced now. Not bad. Not bad. And back to the character screen. Finally! Hull restoration. All of your ships are almost always recoverable if lost in combat. Ships lost in combat have a 75 to 90% chance to avoid demods, chance to remove 1 demod per month from a randomly selected ship in your fleet, faster for low deployment point ships, chance to quickly remove 1 demod from newly acquired ships, higher for ships with more demods, and an additional 15% maximum combat readiness for all ships. Minus 5% per demod, minimum of 0, so it can't be a bad thing. Good. Well, with that accomplished, I believe we're going to cut it here for the moment. Hopefully I'll see you guys all next time,